You are standing in a quiet hallway, staring at a closed door. On the other side is a room full of strangers, and as your hand reaches for the brass knob, your heart rate accelerates. Traditional models of psychology describe this as a mechanical process. Your brain scans past experiences, identifies a social setting, and automatically spits out a pre-programmed reaction of anxiety. This view overlooks the fluid, active involvement of human consciousness. In the microsecond before you turn that handle, you are experiencing cognitive superposition. Cognitive superposition is a state where multiple possible thoughts, feelings, and perceptions exist simultaneously within your mental wave function. You are currently fanned out across several potential futures. You are simultaneously the confident storyteller, the quiet observer, and the anxious wallflower. If a dozen distinct emotional futures exist at the exact same time, what specific mechanism determines which one becomes real? Every environment presents a crossroads of infinite, invisible psychological options. Focused, intentional awareness acts as the conscious observer, the primary trigger for our lived experiences. This attention interacts with the floating field of possibilities, forcing the mind to settle on a single state. We call this experiential collapse. It is the exact moment when the mental wave function resolves into a specific experience, instantly discarding all other options. If attention fixates on thoughts of failure, the mind defaults to the anxious wallflower. The possibilities compress into a single solid state of distress. If we can influence this collapse, why do we frequently build realities that cause us pain? We fall into painful emotional loops because we collapse our realities blindly, unaware of the structural pieces that actually build our feelings. We often treat emotions like anxiety as monolithic forces that attack from the outside. Under closer inspection, these states reveal themselves as combinations of psychodynamic dimensions, 10 fundamental energies like creativity, analysis, and intuition. Deconstructing anxiety reveals a structural imbalance. The analytical dimension becomes overinflated, physically squashing the creative dimension, preventing you from imagining new ways forward. These competing dimensions create destructive interference, resulting in inner conflict and decision paralysis experienced as chronic stress. Resolving this state requires a shift in focus. By intentionally engaging a neglected dimension, such as creativity or somatic awareness, the internal arrangement begins to rebalance. Analyzing this foundational architecture allows us to move from being passive subjects of our emotions to active engineers of our mental states. This structural work applies to every trigger, like receiving a harsh, critical message from a colleague. Habitual responses try to take over immediately. The mind attempts to collapse into a defensive reality, tightening the body and narrowing the perspective. We can intervene by freezing the collapse process before it hardens. This requires turning off the spotlight of immediate judgment. This creates superpositional awareness. It is the ability to hold multiple, even contradictory interpretations of a moment at the exact same time. You hold 3 truths in suspension. The message threatens your ego, offers an opportunity for growth, and reflects the sender's stress. By refusing to immediately label the moment as good or bad, we let the possibilities remain in a state of potential. Maintaining this suspension provides the necessary friction to prevent an automatic trauma response, creating a window for a deliberate choice. When we intentionally emphasize suppressed dimensions, like social connection or willful determination, we influence how the mental wave function resolves. We call this the craftsmanship of collapse. It is the skill of guiding potential into a specific lived experience. Life is not a predetermined chain of reactions. We possess more agency than our conditioning suggests. Standing at the doorway of a room full of strangers becomes a moment of conscious control rather than reflexive fear. Experienced reality exists as a fluid field of potential, architected with every focused breath.